I'm Jesse Quinalty, and this is Firefighters and Fire Trucks Getting Ice Cream. Okay, welcome back to part 2. My guest today is Steve Prziborowski. We're cruising around today in an old Pierce Dash, and we're just now pulling up to Flavor Brigade in Pleasanton, California to go get some ice cream. Ice cream.
Can't go wrong with ice cream.
I'm sure you've had ice cream at a fire station before, so
Too much. Ice cream is a nice little Achilles heel of mine. So,
well, we always talk about the normalization of deviance and the things that we do wrong in the fire service. You buy ice cream when you do something bad, so it's not like we're not accustomed to eating ice cream.
No, it's all those worlds of first. First this, first that. You get to buy ice cream and work overtime, get ice cream, and
first time you get a picture in the paper, which is going to happen, and
it's the only hard part was sometimes when you have so many overtimers for a while at a station, and then all of a sudden you got so much ice cream in the fridge, you get sick of it, which is rare. But 3-person station sometimes it's like, God, how about doing something different?
buy fruit.
Yes, that's still a good little tactic. Hopefully that still occurs. So.
Well, and then you got to find room in the freezer to put the ice cream with all the frozen uniform shirts in there. How do you do that?
Don't leave your uniform shirts out, and then be surprised if they end up in the freezer.
So coming in here, trying to figure out a way to back in the rig and get out there. Thanks for getting out and backing me, by the way.
Yeah.
But we
do as we say, not as we do.
Going back to that normalization of deviance, like backing is a prime example.
Mm-hmm.
We all know most departments' policies, you shall have a backer, but when does that actually occur? You're going to a call, you pass the address, and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, and all of a sudden it goes in reverse really quickly, or literally like, the one engine we have in my department that has a backup camera is the one that's backed up frequently without a backer, But you go through that process of somewhere along the line, it just gets less and less and less. Well, it's like, it's raining, I don't want the firefighter to get out, or I don't want to inconvenience the captain. So one day we're having an engineer's exam, and the engineer, for some reason, as time and culture has gone on, an old engineer somewhere along the line would put it in reverse, and when he would do it, he would say like this chant that basically said, clear in front, clear behind, like ladder throwing or something. And apparently you're able to put it in reverse when he did that. So this younger firefighter that's actually doing the engineer's exam has heard this said once or twice in the department, and then all of a sudden he's on the drive with the engineers with a proctor, and it goes in reverse, and he says that and ends up failing the test. Because it's like, well, I've seen other people do it.
Right.
Well, that's not what the policy says.
Right.
Going back to that company officer promotional exam, engineer is no different. You're seeing certain things like, that's the way we do it in real life all the time, but that's not what our policy says or the way the test should be going.
And the hard part is, that's one component, but also with a lot of newer vehicles having backup cameras, I think it's a false sense of security in some people. I mean, I got a backup camera, I'll see everything, but the hard part is, you'll see a lot, but nothing beats old-fashioned, old-school looking around, because how do you know someone didn't just coming back? Like imagine backing into a fire station.
A little kid running after a ball in the street.
Imagine a fire station. You probably back into that fire station every day of the year, a couple times a day, if not more. There may even be a line on the ground to help follow you back there, but again, you never know. Maybe it's someone visiting the station unbeknownst to you. It's, kids are loving the firehouses, so who's to say someone's kid, your kid, somebody else's kid isn't there? And that's taking that extra time to just have the backer. And I know it is the policy, but it's there for a reason. It's there to obviously protect each one of us, because the last thing any one of us want is to cause harm and ill will to somebody.
Right, and then you feel horrible because and it's like it's not about the policy. It's about it's the right thing to do. We were going through some financial crisis at my department for a while, and the city manager ends up putting out this blanket memo to all departments, not just the fire department, that if you cause injury
Okay.
or you do damage because you don't follow a policy or safety procedure within the city, you'll be automatically suspended without pay.
Okay.
So the crazy thing about it is, it's like, well, an accident is still an accident,
Right.
You know, and when you get to that point where it's like, we're going to solve all accidents by making it punitive, then it gets to the point where you have a fire engine hit a yellow pole out behind the station, and that leads to the entire crew out there with rubber mallets banging the bumper back out and not reporting
Yeah,
it.
it happens.
Right.
Knowing
But-
the consequence in that sense, I mean, it's, you know, the goal is not have any accidents, and the goal is to never have to discipline anybody as long as everything's being done correctly and appropriately. But the hardest part is trying to change behavior, you know, whatever that takes.
Right.
You know, and not letting complacency step in, or shortcuts or other things, which can happen, especially when the stuff's hitting the fan, and you always fall back to what your basic training is. And that's why it's so critical to, you know, I was taught 25 years ago, you have a background. When you cut corners is when you may only be 1 out of a million or 1 out of 100, but all it takes is 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 15 for something bad to happen.
Well, and on this engineer's exam where that firefighter did that, you know, I don't know if he just didn't want to inconvenience the proctor to get out of the rig,
Right.
but we as a fire department, and you kind of talked, you alluded to it earlier, like trying to make the captain's exam mirror what we do in real life.
Right.
We were running an engineer's exam not too long ago where they're doing their pumping evolution, and the proctors, for whatever reason, all of the years before, we actually handed them a card that said, you have 350 feet of 4-inch going to a ground monitor with this tip size and all that kind of stuff. And for whatever reason on this test, they read the card to them instead of handed them the card. And the funny thing is, they already got the pump running. They're already running a couple of lines. Now they're going to put a ground monitor in effect. And but the proctors didn't want to put 350 feet of 4-inch on the ground to pick up later. It was only 150 feet. So now you have an auditory problem. You have a visual problem. You know, and we see those fallacies in the testing process that literally, as a fire department, things you can control to create a better dynamic.
Right.
You know, and that's whether it's testing or in the way we train. You know,
Train like the real thing.
right. Going out and doing your wildland progressive hose lay at the park on flat ground without any brush around isn't going to help us in the end. It makes it easy for the day.
Oh yeah, it makes it funner and easier than, say, 100 and some degree weather out there on steep slope and varying terrain, but that's not where the, you know, it's like saying we don't want to train because it's raining out or it's too hot out or it's cold out. Well, emergencies happen in all those types of situations, but that's the challenging part of being an officer of, you know, not everybody maybe wants to train at every given time, given the scenario and what's going on and distractors, but I'd rather have someone hate me for making them train versus the opposite of going, well, I wish I would have done a little bit more to train them. Don't know if it would have made a difference, but at least it would have been nice to know that I tried, you know, and versus the opposite of just bowing to peer pressure or just bowing to, well, they got it, they don't need it, they're dialed in, they're veterans. Okay, well, all of us need training.
Yeah. When I first promoted to company officer, I had a philosophy that I started, which was basically just training in the streets.
Yeah.
We're not going to go out and throw ladders behind the fire station. You know, we're going to go out and find a place to do it. You know, I could pretty much go to pretty much any fire station in the country and say, well, that's where you throw ladders. It's
We all
flat.
do
There's no rain gutter. You know, but it was kind of cool. It kind of started as a philosophy. Hey, 9:30 in the morning, we're going to hit the streets. We're going to go find somewhere to go train. And we're going to train till lunch.
That's cool.
Pull a hose, do whatever.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, as I promoted to training officer, it not only became kind of a philosophy, but it actually became an entire program. We didn't have a training tower to drill at it and those types of things. So I started working with the local community, got a hold of real estate agents, property owners, and we got the lawyer involved to come up with a form that said, hey, this is what we want to do, and this is the reason why, because a training tower costs millions of dollars. And the damage that you could accidentally do to somebody's business if we're pulling hose lines through there or whatever, it's still a lot cheaper than a training facility. But going through that process, we would go out to all these businesses and they would fill out a form, can we train at your facility? And what can we do? Can we get on the roof? Can we pull a hose line in there? Can we flow water out back? Some of them required a phone call within 24 hours, or hey, you can do it anytime after the business is closed. We had a hotel that said, hey, from 11 o'clock or noon, when checkout happens, till 2 o'clock when they start checking back in, you can drag the hose line down the center hallway, hotel.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing is eventually that actually led to, because we were doing this so often and working with these, the real estate agents and the property owners, that we had a couple of them call us and say, hey, they're going to remodel this entire house.
Yeah.
Literally, they're going to scrape it down to the bones. So you guys can literally go in there, and if you accidentally poke a hole in the wall with your axe as you're doing your search, it won't matter. That actually led to a place that they were going to actually do some major demolition. So we did some rapid intervention crew training, and then eventually we got to do a fire control 3 and burn down the place. But it literally got to the point where we had an entire binder called Training in the Streets, and it's like, what do you want to do? Go find a place in the city that you can go out and do it.
Well, it's funny because if you don't have a training center, you want a training center. If you have one, it's good.
Right. I've seen the layout of that.
That's the problem is the concrete, whatever tower that you have is probably not going to ever catch on fire, and hopefully it never does in your department's history. But you've got that one mitigated.
Right.
And that's why it's so beneficial. It's like to be able to go out in your first 2 areas and see things firsthand, because I'd rather see these buildings on our own time versus dark 30 in the morning when we've never checked them out. Now we're having to go on our hands and knees or go into various cracks and crevices or different places. And that's when bad things may happen. But I think more importantly, from getting buy-in from your crews and from the troops, training tower is one thing, but getting out in the streets, it's hard to beat that stuff. And again, obviously you have to have the support and buy-in from the community, so you can do those things without just trespassing on the property. But it's
which we've done. Yes, we have.
We do that sometimes in the fire department, but it's not the long-term plan.
Especially if you're buying into an entire Knox key system in your city. There's a lot of places like, you can come here after we close. You know where the key is. It makes it real easy to do that. When you talk about going out in the streets, we talked about pre-planning in the fire service forever. And remember when the engine companies used to actually go out and actually draw the pre-plans, and we've lost all that. It's all CAD generated now, and I remember like our pre-plans. Unfortunately, we had a lot of places that we had businesses that we had no pre-plans on. Most of the good pre-plans we had were five-minute pre-plans. Yeah. But if I go to fire at a grocery store, I really want to see where the aisles are, where it's the office. It shouldn't just be a big rectangle drawn on a piece of paper, and this is the gas shut off, and here's the doors, If I have a firefighter saying, hey, I'm down near a bunch of soup, okay, where is that at? And I remember we had a strip mall fire that I was running as the IC, and you go back to those old paper pre-plans in the playbook. I pulled that strip mall pre-plan out, and I got colored pins, and I'm drawing on it, and it's funny that the captain that came in and took my place the next day as a duty officer, I'm showing him this whole thing, like, hey, this is what we had with this fire, and I drew all over it. And he goes, you totally ruined that pre-plan. I said, we have a copy sheet. I've already made a new one. It's back. It's like you don't get what kind of a tool this is. And
you ruined it.
And now, my department, we have tablet command. So all the pre-plans are literally on the tablet. You can do satellite images. You can draw right on it. I mean, it's a huge game changer in the way that we run fires. And it tracks the units. You can pull them over to the columns if they're surge or attack or what they're doing or divisions.
That's cool.
It's I don't know if you guys are using it yet, but
that's that level. So
it's also not. It's our mobile data computer, and it's on an iPad. So you also have hazmat stuff on there. You can go on the iPad and find anything you want. We had a fire not too long ago where a newer captain was actually assigned on it. It was a 4 or 5 story mid-rise building. Well, this new captain gets assigned lobby control. And most of us would have problems like, oh man, what do I got to do? Lobby control.
Pull up my fog manual and get all the little cheat sheet of items out.
Literally, this captain pulled the iPad out of the rig, took it in with him. We have a checklist in there. Just went down the line,
What a deal.
And when you pull up as a captain, you're trained. You're literally running running the fire.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. You can move it over, and
Yeah.
then when the battalion chief gets there, there's this. It pops up and it says Battalion Chief so and so wants to assume command of this
Sort of
incident,
take
and there's
over
a yes or a no that
Okay.
you can click. I found out that battalion chiefs don't like you to click no. That's what I've learned from that.
Well, when I was a battalion chief, most of the time it's like, hey, you got this thing, you need my assistance, I'll be happy to help you out. Or a lot of times you can let the first and the captain take it, but yeah, I can sort of see the control issue there in some.
Well, you got to get back to there's those two types of incidents.
Yeah.
You know, you have those certain fires, and we get a lot better at this nowadays. I remember, you know, as a company officer, if you're in command, well, where's your incident command post? It's wherever you can find me on the incident. I'm running around somewhere.
Yeah.
But most of us are getting to the point where we stay in the cab. But even on a larger fire, the battalion chief spots his vehicle at whatever position.
Yeah.
Engine 1 captain, I'm spotted Alpha Bravo corner. When you're ready to transition, I'll be right here. Instead of that battalion chief trying to chase you around on scene or whatever, get back there to a formal transition. If you haven't taken command until you actually say it over the radio, and do that. But one of the things that we continue to do is those first two engine companies that arrive on scene, that one of them is 2 out, and the other one is going in and doing a fire attack. But the change in the way that we're doing business is that second due engine that is 2 out, or the first due engine that's 2 out. However you're managing that, when you do get the third engine to arrive in their RIC, that 2 out needs to get in and get a good primary search done. The fallacy of, hey, engine 1 go in and get a primary search and fire attack done.
It's just 3. Yeah,
right, it's just not going to happen.
With the driver at the pump panel and officer and the firefighter going in,
Yeah, so one of the kind of things that I've kind of coined the phrase of, we talk a lot about transitional attack. I'm talking a lot about transitional command. There's certain fires that BC comes up and goes, I got it. It's really not that complicated. There's only a couple of engines on scene right now. Right, and that engine literally embeds quickly, rapidly, gets a primary search done. Like, they know that's their objective. Backup fire attack, get a primary search done. Because we know that the people are dying inside these places with the smoke and all that. It's not the fire. It's getting a good primary search done.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, most of us, the search that we're doing is really a secondary search. It's after the fire's put out. And if you look at the old school definition, no, primary search is done in conjunction with fire attack. And most of us don't have enough companies to do it, or don't have a plan to get it in place.
It's so true. It's so true. You know, and back to training, it's challenging enough, obviously, during a typical day at any firehouse to try to find training time, just with everything else, competing interests, you know, whether it's running calls, doing other ancillary duties that we have, whether it's cleaning the station, cleaning the apparatus, cleaning the equipment, maybe company inspections, hydrants. You know, a company officer today really has to get extremely creative to get their training done. The old school fallacy of, 2 hours a day. I mean, we expect 2 hours of training a day, but it's not, that'll be 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock today, or 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. That's a perfect world, but so many times in today's world, that window is going to get interrupted. So a good company officer today really has to be very creative, great time management skills, great planning skills, great organizational skills, to be able to, on the fly, maybe do 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 10 minutes there. It may get to 2 hours over the course of the day, but it can't just be that one thing. So, you know, the more interesting and creative that company officer could do, and even the battalion chiefs that are managing company officers, because it's very easy to get caught up in it's already 3 o'clock, so we don't want to start anything new today. Might as well get our workout in and, you know, get dinner prepped. And next thing you know, day's gone and you haven't done anything. It happens, I get it, but you know, creativity, I think, is real key for officers in today's world.
Well, just you're running a medical aid. Look at the building. Do some training. We've all talked about that. But time management at the captain's level, a lot of it is just, unfortunately, the time wasters that we see as a company officer in time management. Well, that's a waste of time. But you know, it's also bonding with your crew that you have to do. I remember as a company officer, I came into the kitchen one day, and my firefighter and my engineer, they both have yellow pads out, and they're writing stuff on a yellow pad, and I'm thinking they're writing like a list of training they want to do.
You think positively.
I'm thinking they're coming up with a list of things they want to do, and it's like, hey, what do you guys got going on? And I'm like, well, we're just trying to figure out who can write down more than 50 states. Well, as a company officer, I got a choice to make. Either, all right, give me a yellow pad and I get involved because you have to do that, or it's like, hey, we got a ton of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Let's go out and train. You know.
Yeah.
You got to, like you said, time management. Time wasters is the biggest thing that you can literally work on in your firehouse. We were sitting around complaining the other day, and then all of a sudden,
fun to do and easy to do.
You do it.
We've all done
we
it.
all know the kitchen table, and you have to let them vent. You know, we talk about in my class and in managing employee fires, ventilation is part of the process. You have to let them vent. You want to make sure that it's vertical ventilation. If you've got complaints that are coming up the chain of command, and you as a company officer are doing positive pressure ventilation, putting fresh, clean air back in.
Smart move.
But, you know, sometimes you sit around the kitchen table and you're just whatever, right? So we're doing this the other day, and 9 a.m. rolls around after shift change, and all of a sudden you see my engineer get up from the table and walk out, like 9 o'clock on the dot. He goes out and does his rig check.
Oh, okay.
So the following cycle, same type of thing. We're not complaining. We're just sitting around, just joshing around and everything else. 9 o'clock, my engineer gets up and walks out. So I finally go. I said, "Ricky, what's going on?" He goes, "You know what? I've just decided. 9 o'clock. I'm going to sit around. I'm going to hang out. But 9 o'clock, I'm going to go get my rig check done. I'm going to be prepared for training or physical fitness or whatever we got to do for the day." Because we're not going to change some of the things that are going on in the fire department.
Yeah.
So let's get it out there.
We think we can, and we try to, especially.
Solving world
We've
problems.
all done those things, We can do it better.
Right. So we kind of adopted that philosophy at the station now. It's like, okay, 9 o'clock.
Well, that's good.
It's, take it as the Ricky philosophy. 9 o'clock, we get started.
Well, and I think it's good because we've done our time as firefighters, and when you're a firefighter, it's very easy to get caught up into letting the day go by, and when you become an officer, you have different responsibilities. You can't just tell your boss, well, sorry, we didn't get to the training, or we didn't get to inspections, or we didn't get to the reports. As a firefighter, you don't maybe understand that completely until you walk in the shoes of an officer. But once you've been an officer, it's like, you got to do it. A friend of mine in Central Valley, I remember, he on an engine company that runs 15, 20 calls a day, and I'm like, you run 15, 20 calls a day, you still got to do rig maintenance, right? Oh yeah, we still do rig maintenance, still do inspections, still do training, I go, how do you guys get all this stuff done? He goes, you got to get creative. He goes, you just make the day happen, you get very creative in how you do things, and you don't let the day waste away, because it's very easy, because he goes, I can't tell my chief, sorry boss, I didn't get to it.
Right.
Because that's a butt chewing right there. I don't want to be on the receiving end of that. It's like, don't blame you.
Yeah.
And, again, it's not you, the officer, trying to be mean or to be a task-driven individual. It's just we got work to do.
Right.
And we can still have fun. With the schedule the way it is, work hard, play hard.
So we go through this, the conversation we have, and you get to see a lot of different perspectives. Now sitting in some of those chief officer positions. How long have you been a chief officer at this point?
Been deputy chief since 2011, so I've been fortunate to rotate through training, operations, administration, now back to training. Before that, I was battalion chief from 2006 to 2011. I got to serve in line positions and admin positions.
Wow.
So pretty much regularly assigned and acting since I think 2006, give or take, officially BC in 2007. But I was fortunate. I've had a career that has allowed me to do a lot of great things, meet a lot of great people, be involved with a lot of great projects. And I've been fortunate to spend about 5 years in every position so far. 5 years about as firefighter.
What everybody thinks is the best plan, and a lot of people don't actually achieve it, but
which is awkward because, in a perfect world, if you think about it, depending on the size of your department, there's no perfect plan, but it's like fortunate to be about 5 years as firefighter and engineer. That's our combination right now. Then about 5 years as a captain, about 5 years as a BC, and now deputy chief, going on 8 years now. But to me, I think very well rounded in that sense. And don't get me wrong, I miss being a firefighter, I miss being a driver, I miss being a company officer, I miss driving that time shift bus.
right.
But I wouldn't give it up for what I have now. It's sometimes challenging as my job can be, especially when you deal with bigger picture issues such as budgets or politics or personnel issues, thankfully not a lot of those, very rare. But a lot of those things that we didn't sign up to do as firefighters, we got on the job, we didn't sign up to try to master. And again, I wouldn't change it, I enjoy what I do, and that I think is one of our biggest challenges when we talk about the term succession planning or succession management. We're hiring people as firefighters, but when it comes to filling our upper ranks, especially the 40-hour chief ranks, I think a lot of departments nationwide are struggling because, again, the person we hired today wants to fight fire and save lives, but you can't blame them because we all did. But then in reality, here they become a company officer, which is still in the firehouse, you're still with your crew, but then now maybe you're a battalion chief by yourself, maybe managing programs, now you're that 40-hour whatever chief position you have.
Right.
That's like cats and dogs. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles that I see and continue to see, and really it's a problem because it forces a lot of departments to go to the outside. There's great talented people that go to the outside. There's great talented people that have gone from one department to another. I mean, that's not a problem, but if we truly want to have, I think, healthy organizations that offer a lot to our personnel, we need to do a better job, I think, of encouraging people to step up. And I know most people don't want to go hire the captain. I get it. It's can't blame them, or battalion chief. But those people that we're hiring today, not all are going to be they're future firefighters. Those people we hired today, there's got to be at least one captain out of that bunch, one battalion chief, one fire chief, maybe 20 years down the road. But I think that's all of our challenges in the world. The fire service today is being able to be good role models, but be good mentors, be those people that inspire people. Because I've heard people that I set out to be a chief officer, something I always wanted to do. Not everybody starts out that way. I talked to so many people that, well, I didn't want to be a fire chief, I didn't want to be a deputy chief, but the only reason I did that was because maybe someone lit a spark under me, or someone tapped me on the shoulder and says, you've got what it takes, or we need you to step up. And I think that's that sometimes tough conversation that needs to have, because we know there's leaders of all ranks, there's great people of all ranks. Some people are meant to go higher than maybe one position or stay as firefighter, but there's a lot of leaders out there that we really, I think, we need to do the fire service justice with, encouraging them to step up.
Correct.
And I think that's a challenge that I put on myself, obviously, as well as I think all of us should do, because we can complain all we want about what's going on, but unless we want to step up and be part of the solution, it's sort of hard to be a spectator and complain. It's easy, it's just not fair or realistic.
Yeah. And we've all seen those firefighters that says, well, I'm never going to be a company officer, or I don't want to be a company officer, and that's just at the baseline level. But like you said, encouraging them, and I know that a lot of the stuff that you're doing out there, it's, look, you can do it. I mean, we're going to teach you the tools, the system. If that's where you aspire to be, let's figure out a way to get you there. And when you start talking about mentorship, it's great to have you in the fire service, trying to not only help your department, but trying to take that nationwide on, hey, you can promote to those upper levels and make change and be part of the problem, fixing the problem.
Yeah, and it's not easy. The tougher, the higher up you get, the more challenging it is, and being anything in the fire service, especially higher rank positions, is more challenging than it was 20, 30 years ago. But it's not getting any easier, and it's just the world we live in. And leadership's not for the faint of heart, but we are definitely, I think, nationwide in need of the people to step up. And why couldn't it be you or you or you? So,
if nothing else, I appreciate it being you.
thank you, brother. Likewise.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate the opportunity. This was a good, fun chat. So.
right. That's like a little fire service chat over ice cream. I will see you again soon, somewhere, I think.
Yes, my friend. No, this was a great time. Had a fun time. Ice cream's always a good thing, and a good way to do it.
Cool. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Jesse. Thanks for the opportunity, brother.
See you next time.
All right.